Okay, so it's terrifying being up here. I'll say that. But I titled my message "A Mother's Love," and I'm not even going to talk about love for the majority of it. But I do want to compare mothers to Jesus and the way that mothers treat their children, and the way that Jesus taught and raised his disciples and other sinners. So that's the main goal, is just to compare the two, just to see how they're similar. And I want to start with sacrifice. I think sacrifice is one of the biggest things that mothers give to their children. Sacrifice is huge. And I broke sacrifice into 3 parts. It's so big I couldn't summarize sacrifice into just one. So I have time, sleep, and I combine money and career into one. But I'm going to start at time. So first of all, I feel really unqualified to talk about this because I know nothing about what it takes to be a mother. But raising a child it does not look easy at all. First you got to carry the child in your womb for 9 months, and then you raise it for 18, 20 years, and that's not easy at all. I know I was not easy to raise, but I think that's huge because in the amount of time that my mom spent bringing me things, whether it was lunch, whether it was my Chromebook charger to school twice, 3 times a week, there was so many things that she did for me that I didn't really say thank you enough for, but she sacrificed her time for that. She took time out of her day. I would call her, I'd be like, hey, I left my Chromebook charger at the house, can you bring it to me? And she'd say, oh, I'm gardening, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm cleaning, I'm doing this. And she took time. She stopped doing everything that she would do, and she would ask me, okay, where is it? And then I would explain. It's 9 times out of 10, it was probably in my room somewhere. But yeah, she would take time. She would bring it to school, and I would always take it, and I would say thank you. And she took her time out of her day. And Jesus did the same thing. In Matthew chapter 9, verse 10 through 13, the Bible says, while Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? On hearing this, Jesus said, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go on and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. Jesus took time out of his day. He chose to take time out of his day. He was considered a celebrity during this time. Everybody wanted to eat with him. Everyone wanted to serve him. Everybody wanted to be around him. And he took time out of his day to go and eat with the lowliest people, the people that nobody wanted anything to do with. The tax collectors were just cheaters and liars and stealers or thieves. And the sinners, well, they're just sinners. And nobody wanted anything to do with them, but Jesus did. He called to those people, and that was where his calling was. And he chose to eat with them and drink with them. He sacrificed his own time for that. Mothers sacrificed their time for their children, and Jesus sacrificed his time for his disciples. He saw the bigger picture. He saw, I have to put time and effort into this in order for this outcome to happen. Mothers do the same thing. They say, I have to put time and effort into this so that I can get this outcome. Moving on, my second point is sleep. Mothers sacrifice their sleep. And again, I don't know what it takes to be a mother. I never will be one. But raising a child takes a lot of sacrifice of sleep. I hear Christy's brothers-in-law and sisters-in-laws talk about, are you practicing losing sleep yet? And it sounds horrible, but I know the outcome. It's got to be there. It's got to be worth it. And I want to focus on the bad dreams aspect of losing sleep. Because I remember whenever we would have bad dreams, our first thought is, wake up, go to mom and dad's room. Wake up, go to mom's side of the bed. Because I always wanted to go to mom's side. Dad might be mad, but mom was always there to help us. And the sleep that you had in their bed by their side, that was the best sleep of your life. You wake up and all the fear that you had is gone because mom and dad are right there. Everything that you were thinking, everything in that bad dream, it's all gone. And I compare that to the same way that Jesus did in Luke chapter 8, verse 22 through 24. And it says, "One day Jesus said to his disciples, 'Let us go over to the other side of the lake.' So they got into the boat and set out. As they sailed, he fell asleep. A squall came down on the lake so that the boat was being swamped, and they were in great danger. The disciples went and woke him, saying, 'Master, Master, we're going to drown.' He got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters. The storm subsided and all was calm." In their moment of fear, in the disciples' moment of fear, they said, "Master, Master, we're going to drown. We're going to die." They were scared for their life. Whenever a child's having a bad dream, they don't understand the difference between reality and a dream very well. And it all becomes blurred, and you're just scared. You just let fear overwhelm you. And in that moment, they put their faith, they said, "Jesus, save us." The same way that the children say, "Mom, I had a bad dream. Can I sleep with you?" They let that fear control them, and then they turn to the one thing that they trust to stop that fear. And that was Jesus for the disciples. But Jesus doesn't just let them come to him every time they have a problem, every time they're scared. Because Jesus also says, and I don't think that we have it in verse 25, it says in Luke 8, verse 25, it says, "Where is your faith?" he asked his disciples. He asked, "Where is your faith?" And mothers do the same thing. I remember my mom, whenever we'd wake up after that great night of sleep, we'd go outside, we'd go out of her room, and we'd have breakfast ready, and then she would say, "I'm not always going to be there. You can always pray to Jesus. Every time that you have a bad dream, you can pray to Jesus, and then he'll take care of it." I don't know if that was her way of getting rid of us, getting us out of their room, but, it worked, because now that's what we learned to do. We learned to put our faith in Jesus in the same way that the disciple, he said, "Where is your faith?" He wants them to trust him. And that's all that mothers are there for. They encourage their children. They encourage them to move on from themselves and put their dependence in Jesus. Moving on, the money and career aspect. And I thought that was pretty self-explanatory, but it really wasn't. Once I actually got into it, it was a lot more difficult than I thought. So in my case, my mom, whenever she started having children, she quit her job. And she chose to focus on raising children rather than the income aspect of life. And she felt that her greater calling was not to continue her job, but to quit her job and focus on children. And Jesus did the same thing. And I know not all mothers do. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying what my mom did was right, but I do appreciate it now, looking back. But she felt the greater calling was to serve her children, and Jesus felt the greater calling was for him also to quit his job to focus on his greater calling, which he started spreading the gospel, and that is whenever he became known by everyone, and everyone either loved him or hated him. And they sacrificed that for their children. They don't have to, they choose to. Sacrifice is a choice. They do not have to sacrifice that, but they choose to, and that's what makes it so meaningful to me. The sacrifice is about investing in their children. I felt that by my mom choosing not to have a career, she chose to invest in us, kids, and hopefully our future would turn out the way that she had planned. But the second thing that I want to talk about is patience. Moving on from sacrifice, patience. Also one of the fruits that the mother demonstrates that Jesus does also. And I said that patience is mostly related to the refusal to blow up in anger. You're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and you only have to wait whenever you're in a hurry. That's how it feels. Every time that, you realize, I got some time, I can go here, and there's no line. But as soon as you're like, I got 15 minutes, I'll go here, and then I'll quickly do this, and then I'll quickly do that, and then I'll be there. And then there's a line. It seems like it always works out that way. It never works out well. But patience with children. Children are clumsy. We're not very smart. We do dumb things. We break rules. We do just about everything wrong. But mothers show their patience. A mother doesn't expect her child to stand up and walk on the first time that it tries. There's patience there. They do not expect everything of their child the same way that we expect that of us now. Now we expect more of us because we're older, we're wiser, hopefully, we're stronger. But Jesus did the same thing. He taught his disciples. The disciples didn't understand why Jesus was on earth. They figured he was just the Messiah and he was just here to teach. But they didn't understand that his main goal was to die. So whenever, that's actually really comparable to John chapter 18, verse 10 through 11. And this is, in the Bible it says, "Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. Jesus commanded Peter, 'Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?'" You know, Peter didn't understand why Jesus was just voluntarily going with them. He thought, oh, he's just being a prisoner. I got to save him. I got to do this for him because he would do this for me. And yeah, Jesus probably would, but that wasn't his goal there. His goal was on earth was to die. And they didn't understand that. The disciples didn't understand that. And Jesus could have blown up on him. He could have been like, "Peter, you fool, why didn't you let them take me? It's my job to die here." He could have said, "Why aren't you like the other disciples? They didn't stop. They didn't try and stop them." But no, he said, "Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" He explained it. Now, I don't know if Peter understood that right away because "shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" It's kind of almost a parable. It's just saying, "Shall I not take the path the Father has lit for me?" Now, I don't know if Peter understood that at the time because it took me reading it a few times to understand it. But Jesus didn't just blow up on him. Jesus said, "I'll be patient with you. Just put your sword away and then listen to me." The same way that mothers do. They don't expect their children to know everything. They don't expect them to understand everything right away. If they did, that would be so wrong. But my last point is forgiveness. I know it's going to be a short message, but that's okay. Forgiveness, I feel like with children, that's probably a huge thing because we do mess up so much and we're anything but perfect. But we mess up all the time and we do disobedient acts all the time, but our mothers always forgive us. They never stop loving us just because we make that mistake. They never stop loving us just because we disobeyed them here. And I remember one time whenever we weren't supposed to ride our go-kart during the day unless we asked first. And me and my brothers, we wanted to ride it so bad, but Dad wasn't home to ask, so we just rode it anyway. And we went outside and we had some fun, and then we came back inside, and whenever my dad got home, he probably saw the tracks in the yard, or my mom heard it because they're not as dumb as we always thought they were. But whenever my dad got home, he asked us, "Did you guys ride it?" And we said, "No, we didn't ride it." And then he asked us again, "Did you guys ride it?" "No, we didn't ride it." "Did you guys ride it?" "No." And he would always get more upset at the way that we lied to him than the thing that we actually disobeyed. Because the act that we disobeyed was such a small thing. It's just riding the go-kart without permission. It's such a small thing in life. But the fact that we lied about it and we tried to cover it up, he was always more upset about that. But he still forgave us. He still said, "I know you're lying. I saw the tracks in the yard, but I forgive you for lying." I think we still got discipline, but, that was probably well-deserved. That was well-deserved. And Jesus does the same thing, his forgiveness. In Luke chapter 23, verse 34, it says, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And this was while he was on the cross. This was during some of his last breaths. He said, "Forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Everything that the people did there, it was hurtful to him. They were mocking him. They were beating him. They nailed him on a cross. They did all these things to him. And he still said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And mothers, they do the same thing. I mean, yeah, we know better, but we don't understand what we're doing in the moment. But they're investing in the child's future in that. They still love us through everything. And they recognize that just because we hurt them, it's not an excuse to hurt them back. It's not holding a grudge. And the last thing that I want to talk about is love. I know I titled it A Mother's Love, but love is the main thing. And whenever I think of love, mainly I think of discipline. I don't know why my mind goes there, but it does. I feel like discipline is not everything that love is, but it's where my mind goes. But it was that act whenever we disobeyed, whenever we rode the go-kart without permission, it was that act of disobedience. And they didn't do it because they could. They didn't just discipline us because they said, oh, it's the right thing to do. No, they did it because they loved us. They always thought that it's an investment in them. And they always said, our parents, and mom especially, she always said it hurts them more than it hurts us. And I believe that. I'm not close to having a kid, but I'm already scared of having to give spankings out. But love is more than just discipline. Love connects everything. Love connects sacrifice, love connects into patience, and love connects into forgiveness. Love connects into every single fruit that is offered by mothers. Because sacrifice without love, it's just a burden. It's saying, oh, I have to go do this. It's not choosing to go do this, it's saying I have to. You know, your plans always take you this way, and you want to go down this route with your plans, but then somebody needs something, and then you have to take a detour, and you have to go over here just so that you can do something for them. And it's how where your heart is that determines if that's an act of sacrifice or if that's a burden for you. Same thing goes with patience. Patience without love it brings anger. Because if you're waiting in a line and you're waiting impatiently, everyone in that line knows it. Everyone knows it. Everybody can see it on your face. Everybody can see it whenever you bump somebody. You know, it's like, hey, there's an 8-foot gap there. You guys mind moving up? Like, it shows. It shows. It really does. But patience without love is just anger and waiting. And then forgiveness. Forgiveness without love is not forgiveness at all. If somebody harms you or hurts you in any way, and then you just say, oh, I forgive you, but your mindset is still in that thought of, man, but if I got the chance, I would do something to him. That's not forgiveness. It's just empty words. You're still holding a grudge. Your words mean nothing then. It's saying, I forgive you, but you don't. And how is the other person supposed to know that? They might think, oh, all is well. But then anytime that they hurt you, then it's like, yeah, that's payback. But it shouldn't be that way. So love ties everything together. Love brings sacrifice, forgiveness, patience. Love brings it all back together. Because it takes love to sacrifice, it takes love to forgive, it takes love to be patient, and it takes love to be a mother. Mothers are love. And I have just one sentence before I close. Like I said, it's going to be short. But just one final sentence before I close, and then I'll pray. But I just said, any action done without love is not an act of God, because God is love. Lord, I thank you for this wonderful day that you've given us. Lord, I thank you for all the mothers in here. Lord, I thank you that they love us, Lord. All the sacrifice that my mom put through just for me, Lord. She sacrificed so much for us, Lord. She was patient with us, and Lord, she forgave us. And she continues to do all three of those, and she will probably until we die. And Lord, I just thank you for everything that you've done for us, Lord. I pray for all the mothers in here, Lord. Would you bless them? And Lord, allow this day to just be a relaxing day for them, Lord. And I know we only say thank you, or we only mean to say thank you one day out of the year. But Lord, help us to do it more often, Lord. Help us to show our thankfulness. Help us to sacrifice back for them. Help us to forgive back for them. And Lord, help us to be patient with them as well. Lord, I pray all this in your wonderful name. Amen.